As you're watching this, major media outlets are likely painting Hungary as a pariah state, an authoritarian regime, a threat to European democracy. They're churning out articles about how its leader is destroying the country, how Hungary is sliding backward, becoming isolated from the civilized West. But hidden in the economic data, buried in statistics that contradict the official narrative, is a truth so uncomfortable for the establishment that they refuse to acknowledge it. Hungary's economy is outperforming Germany's. The country they call a failed state is beating the industrial powerhouse of Europe. And this isn't an accident. It's the result of a deliberate economic strategy that violates every rule of modern European orthodoxy. While Germany shut down its nuclear plants and surrendered its energy independence, Hungary built closer ties with Russia to secure affordable energy. While Germany opened its borders and watched social costs explode, Hungary sealed its borders and redirected those savings into family subsidies. While Germany let the EU dictate its fiscal policy, Hungary told them to back off and implemented the lowest corporate tax rate in Europe. The results? In 2023, Hungary's GDP growth was 3.7%. Germany's was negative 0.3%. Hungary's unemployment rate is 4.1%, while Germany's youth unemployment is climbing toward crisis levels. Hungarian families are receiving unprecedented support for having children, while German birth rates are collapsing. Hungarian energy costs for industry are among the lowest in Europe, while German manufacturers are fleeing to America because they can't afford electricity. This isn't the story you've been told. It's not the story you'll see on the nightly news, but it's what the data shows. And there's a pattern here, a four-stage economic strategy that explains exactly how a small Central European nation is outmaneuvering the continent, a supposed superpower. It's a documented pattern that has repeated across the continent for centuries, showing how economies rise and fall. Stage 1. A nation establishes economic dominance through industrial capacity, energy security, and fiscal discipline. This creates jobs, rising living standards, and influence. Everyone celebrates the economic miracle. Stage 2. The dominant nation becomes complacent. It prioritizes ideology over pragmatism, adopting policies that feel morally superior but are economically self-destructive. Stage 3. The cracks appear. Energy costs spike, industries relocate, and the middle class shrinks. But the political elite double down on the failing policies. Stage 4, a smaller, hungrier nation rejects the consensus and implements the opposite policies. They prioritize reality over ideology, and within a generation, the power dynamic reverses. Let me prove this pattern with two historical examples. First, Britain versus Germany from 1870 to 1914. In 1870, Britain was the undisputed economic superpower, but then it became ideologically committed to absolute free trade, while Germany used strategic tariffs to protect its new industries. Britain's elite studied classics. Germany invested heavily in technical education. By 1914, Germany's economy had caught up. It rejected British orthodoxy, and it worked. The economic power shifted. Second example, France versus Germany from 1950 to 1990. After the war, both rebuilt. France implemented state-directed economic planning. Germany implemented a social market economy with strong competition and fiscal discipline. For a while, both boomed. But in the 1970s, France's model showed cracks. State-run industries became inefficient. By the 1980s, French industry was struggling while German manufacturing, powered by its skilled workforce and adaptable companies, thrived. By 1990, Germany was Europe's undisputed economic leader. The pattern executed again. Now, here's the critical point. The Germany that rose to dominance from 1950 to 1990 used specific policies: cheap energy, controlled borders, vocational training, and fiscal discipline. This was the formula that made Germany Europe's engine. Over the past 20 years, Germany has systematically abandoned every single element of this successful model. Meanwhile, Hungary has quietly adopted them. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. What we are witnessing is not a Hungarian anomaly. It's the predictable outcome of a historical pattern playing out in real time. Have you ever wondered what happens when a country gets its core policies completely wrong? Let's look at Germany from 2000 to today. It's a story of how a global powerhouse can be systematically dismantled, not by outside forces, but by its own decisions. Back in 2000, Germany was the envy of the world. Its manufacturing sector was booming, unemployment was falling, and exports were soaring. Energy was cheap and reliable thanks to a mix of coal, nuclear, and Russian gas. Germany was the model of success. Then, things started to change. In 2011, after the Fukushima incident, Chancellor Angela Merkel announced a complete phase-out of nuclear power by 2022. This was celebrated as a victory for the Green Movement. The plan was to show the world that renewables like wind and solar could power an industrial giant. But there was a catch. Renewables are not always available. To keep the lights on, Germany became more and more dependent on Russian natural gas. By 2021, over half of its gas came from Russia. Europe's strongest economy had tied its fate to a geopolitical rival. Next came the 2015 migration crisis. Merkel declared open borders, and over 1 million migrants arrived in that year alone. While praised as a humanitarian act, the economic and social costs were immense. Billions were spent on integration, social services were strained, and cultural tensions flared up, leading to political instability. The policy, meant to solve a demographic problem, saw the native birth rate continue to fall while creating entirely new challenges. Then, the final blows. The EU's Green Deal and rising carbon taxes made German energy prices skyrocket, becoming some of the most expensive in Europe. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022 and cut off the gas supply, the house of cards collapsed. German industry, starved of affordable energy, began to shut down or move. Giants like BASF, Volkswagen, and Siemens started relocating production to places like China, America, and, surprisingly, Hungary. Germany entered a recession, with its industrial core starting to rust. Now, let's contrast this with Hungary. When Viktor Orban came to power in 2010, Hungary was in a tough spot. He decided to reject the mainstream European consensus and forge his own path. First, energy. While Germany was ditching reliable sources, Hungary secured long-term cheap gas contracts with Russia and expanded its Pax nuclear power plant. This kept industrial electricity costs at about a third of Germany's. When the 2015 migration crisis hit, Hungary did the opposite of Germany. It built a border fence and stopped illegal crossings, redirecting the massive savings towards its own citizens. Orban launched some of the world's most generous pro-family policies. Mothers with 4 or more children pay 0 income tax for life, and families get huge subsidies for housing. As a result, Hungary's fertility rate saw a sustained increase, a rare success story in Europe. To top it off, Orban slashed the corporate tax to just 9%, the lowest in the EU. This, combined with cheap energy, turned Hungary into a magnet for investment. German manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, and Audi, fleeing high costs at home, set up huge plants in Hungary. So did major Korean and Chinese battery and EV companies. The results are undeniable. As Germany's economy shrinks, Hungary's is growing. While German industry flees, it often lands in Hungary. The smaller nation, by implementing the exact opposite policies, is winning. Germany seems politically locked into its path of decline, unable to admit its model has failed. Meanwhile, Hungary is pragmatically building its future, attracting the very industrial base Germany is losing. This isn't just a trend, it's a fundamental shift. The divergence between these two nations is set to accelerate, potentially reshaping Europe's economic map for decades to come. People completely miss the point about the Hungarian economy. They frame it as authoritarianism versus democracy, but that's just a way to avoid talking about the actual policies. And the policies work, whether you like Hungary's media laws or not. Cheap energy works, border control works, family subsidies work, low corporate taxes work. These aren't authoritarian tools. They're pragmatic economic policies that Western Europe gave up for ideological reasons. Let's look at the actual data. GDP growth in 2023, Hungary 3.7%, Germany negative 0.3%, unemployment in 2024, Hungary 4.1%, Germany 6.1%. Industrial electricity costs, Hungary is about a third of what it is in Germany. Corporate tax, Hungary 9%, Germany 30%. Fertility rate, Hungary's is rising while Germany's is flat. Foreign direct investment as a percentage of GDP is more than double in Hungary. On 7 out of 8 key metrics, Hungary is outperforming Germany. These aren't my numbers, they're official Eurostat figures. The smaller economy that rejected the consensus is beating the industrial superpower that enforced it. So, can Germany just copy Hungary's policies? In theory, yes. In reality, no. Germany would need to reopen nuclear plants, but that's politically impossible. It would need to control its borders and deport illegal immigrants, but any party suggesting that gets labeled an extremist. It would need to cut corporate taxes and environmental regulations, but the Green Party would collapse the government first. Germany is trapped. The very policies that could restore its competitiveness are politically untouchable, so Germany will continue its managed decline while claiming moral superiority. Meanwhile, Hungary will keep attracting Germany's industries, capital, and educated workers. What does this mean for you? If you're German, it means the economic model you trusted is collapsing. Your energy costs will stay high. Your industries will leave, and your taxes will keep rising to cover the gaps. If you're European elsewhere, it means your country is likely following the same failing Brussels-approved model. If you're an investor, it means the smart money is moving from Western Europe to Central Europe. The jobs are moving east. If you can relocate to a place like Hungary, your purchasing power will be higher and your taxes will be lower. This economic divergence is going to continue. Every factory that relocates from Germany to Hungary makes Germany poorer and Hungary richer. You might think Germany is too big to fail, but that's what every declining power thinks right before the decline becomes irreversible. The pattern doesn't care about size, it cares about policy. And right now, Germany's policies are economic poison. If you understand what's happening, you have an opportunity to position yourself before this shift becomes obvious to everyone. You can move capital, adjust investments, or even relocate. But you have to act before it becomes mainstream news, because once everyone sees it, the opportunities will be gone. Right now, the pattern is visible, but not yet widely accepted. That's your window. The systematic economic shift from Western to Central Europe is happening right now, while politicians just give speeches. This isn't about one man. It's about a set of pragmatic policies that prioritize results over ideology. And those policies are winning. Not in the future, but right now. If you found this valuable, subscribe to this channel. In my next video, I'll reveal exactly which industries are relocating, which cities are becoming the new manufacturing hubs, and the moves you can make to benefit from this shift. I'll show you the playbook for how to position yourself during economic power shifts, but YouTube won't show you that video unless you engage. So hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment telling me which part of this analysis shocked you the most. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening in Europe's economy. The Hungarian model is winning, the German model is failing, and time is running out to get on the right side of this historic shift.